Hey, what's up you guys, it's ACSE, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be going over the count 'em, four brand new mod packs that I have added with the addition of ACSE to Planet Zoo modding. So without further ado, I am going to be going over all four packs, they being the Frontier Pack, the Exhibit Prop Pack, the Exhibit Prop Animal Pack, and the Giftshop Pack. So I guess we will start off with the big boys and go down to the itty bitty stuff. So starting out, we have the Frontier Pack, which after much deliberation I have decided to call it the Frontier Pack, though internally I kind of call it the North America Pack. So this pack came about by just kind of wanting a lot more North American foliage that unfortunately we kind of missed out on because we got a North America Animal Pack. So I started, you know, just wanting to actually make some props for stuff that on a regular basis I would want in a zoo, but I wasn't able to do. So we'll start off with the kind of terrain sets that I kind of included. So the first one, which is a full set, it kind of uses the mulch patch bases, so you're going to get circles and horizontal pieces and, you know, some squares and rectangles and stuff. And this is going to be the wood chip mulch set. So this one's going to be really good if you want that kind of realistic, you know, mulch texture that's kind of made of little like wood chips or whatever that you see in a lot of zoos. It's kind of a really common form of like turf that they use either for gardening or just in general for animal habitats. And so I thought it was, you know, kind of crazy that we don't have it already. So I decided to include it in the game. Similarly, we have the pine needle. So pine needles are a huge portion of North American foliage, specifically, you know, in the north half of the continent. We obviously have a lot of these in the northeast where I'm from. Similarly, you know, you'll find these all over Canada and, you know, parts of the Midwest and stuff. So I definitely wanted to include them. And so, you know, we just needed a whole basically panel of just pine needles, because I think they're just that important that they cover forest floors or whatever, and it was really important to include this. But the other thing that, you know, cover forest floors that I thought was really important was over here, and that is the leaf litter. So we have leaves, because for some reason there's no leaves in Planet Zoo. I know there's been a lot of methods that people have come up with over the years to kind of replicate leaves, but why settle when we could just have the real thing, and that is leaf litter? So I actually went ahead and made these flexi-color, so you can make it any color you want. So if you want to have some autumn leaves, if you want to have some yellows and oranges, you can definitely do that. If you want to make some freshly fallen leaves, like greenish ones, you can do that as well. It's all totally up to you. This is going to really help for pretty much all builds, because I don't imagine there's that many areas of the world that don't include leaves. So I definitely wanted to include them. And they're going to really pair well with some of the other packs that I have later down the line. So that is going to be really, really nice. Similarly, I actually took the liberty of, specifically for the Frontier Pack, making each of these pieces actual plants. So they're actually functional plants that your animals will interact with. They will actually enjoy them if they want, you know, the correct type of biome slash, you know, appropriate continent, that sort of thing. It's actually really useful for that. So these are actually functional plants and they will work accordingly. So while we're in this section, we can kind of do the little stuff first. And that is, we can do the duckweed. So duckweed is a huge, huge portion of wetlands environments in North America. They're found pretty much throughout the United States. Obviously, they're very prominent in areas such as Florida, in the Everglades and stuff like that. But I've also found duckweed growing everywhere up here in, you know, the Northeast. So it's not really that crazy. It's very, very common. For those who aren't familiar with it, yes, it is this bright neon greenish yellow color. When you see them in the wild and stuff, they literally look like they're just like bright neon sludge essentially throughout swamps. But they're perfect for alligator habitats, they're perfect for Everglades habitats, and so I really think that we should have gotten them with North America, and that's why I added them in. So these are going to be an aquatic type of plant. You're going to want to use these kind of alongside lily pads and cattails and stuff, so definitely a very good prop right there. Next up, this is probably my favorite from the North America pack, and this was not even planned originally, but this is the American beach grass. So the story behind this one was kind of interesting. So I originally wasn't intending on including it, but I was actually driving home the other day, and obviously I live in Rhode Island, and very commonly we have a lot of beaches and stuff. And so I was just driving down, and I'm like, there's an awful lot of like this yellowish grass or whatever, like everywhere. Like, and that's when I like looked it up, and I'm like, yeah, oh, that's apparently a thing. So it's called American beach grass, and it grows all along coastlines and stuff. But you can also sort of similarly use it for like dead grass, whether you're making a prairie section or a savanna section or something. And so I thought this was a no-brainer. In the future, I'm trying to make it FlexiColor. I ran some tests. It was a bit iffy, but my hope is that one day I will be able to get it fully FlexiColor in a patch, and that'll be awesome when I get to it. So be on the lookout for that. But speaking of the prairie, we get to the next one, which is the actual prairie grass that I intended, which is the prairie cordgrass. So this is going to be very, very similar to the current reeds that we have in-game in shape, but it actually kind of resembles more realistic grass. It's kind of a lot closer to the drin grass. And so I think this looks awesome. It's perfect for, you know, adding a bunch of dense foliage or whatever, especially tall grass and stuff to your builds. It's definitely a must-have. It's gorgeous. It really works incredibly well for most builds, whether it's Africa, Asia, North America, wherever you want to be. It's perfect. So definitely another one of my favorites. So now we get to some of the trees that I basically, you know, created this pack for in the first place. And we'll start off with the elm trees. So you hear me often talking about how I want really tall trees that represent the Northeast. And I wanted tall oak trees and tall elm trees. So I at least did the first half of that, which was elm trees. So basically all I did was I took the in-game elm trees that you can just kind of look up here. You just look up elm. And I took these trees and I just trimmed them so that they're the top half, you know, only. And I don't know why this isn't just how they look normally, because this looks gorgeous. Like, you just get everything you want, you know. You're not getting, you know, an obstructed view or anything if you're at a ground level, but you still get that nice canopy. And I really, really think that was a great choice on my part. And so these are going to make a great addition to your zoos. Another thing was picking up with the other, you know, eastern section of the United States. We have the eastern white pine, so I thought we needed new pine trees. You know, you can't do a North America pack without some new pines. So I based them off of the eastern whites. So they're a very, very nice, clean-looking pine tree. I did some research on them. They're basically just, you know, it's a pine tree. There's not much to say. It's just a really nice kind of filled out, a slightly lighter green pine tree than you might be used to, but it definitely will look really good with those new pine forests or whatever, and it just adds a little bit of variety to your North American builds. And like I said, pair them with some of these other things, and you can get some really, really cool foliage. So the next up, we have the gray birch trees. So these were actually a request from one of my Canadian friends, which is Bold in the community. And she was saying how she really wanted some really tall, skinny birch trees with just the tops on them. And so I delivered, and I gave her gray birch trees. So this is a type of birch tree that is very, very thin. You'll see them in Europe as well as North America. They're very, very cool, and they kind of fit the rest of the vibe of the North American forest, especially like that kind of taiga environment. So I think these work really, really well, and they're great. So for the last thing in the Frontier Pack, we have to include California, of course, because I've represented the rest of the US. We got the prairie, the Northeast, Canada, Mexico, so why not do the Mexican fan palm? So this is very common in California and Mexico, and it is basically your very tall palm tree. It's also known as the Washingtonian palm, and it's perfect. It's gorgeous. It's perfect for making those San Diego builds. It's perfect for doing some Mexican Tijuana builds, that sort of thing. And the perk is, you only really need the one, but I will probably add more in the future, because at the end of the day, it's super tall, but if you want it a bit more reasonable, you just sink it into the ground. It's very simple like that. And what's very cool about these ones is they have, obviously, the fruit that grow down, and what I really think is the ultimate thing is they just look like Frontier quality stuff. So this is, you know, I've obviously definitely improved on how I make foliage and stuff. I've taken some of the textures and stuff that Frontier used or whatever to try and get it as close to their style as possible so that they mesh well with the in-game stuff. And I think that these plants all work really well next to your in-game stuff. So I think, you know, that pretty much sums up the Frontier pack. So now we'll get on to the slightly smaller packs. So quickly, I just want to cover the gift shop pack. So the gift shop pack, I, you know, quickly highlighted. I'm going to be doing a separate video probably coming out tomorrow by the time that this comes out, which will be detailing how you can use the gift shop pack to make everything. But going over it quickly for all of you if you haven't seen the props yet. We basically have about 20 new props that you can use to design gift shops with, and they're all billboards so that you can definitely customize them, mix and match however you'd like. So starting off, we have some folded shirts. You have a child size and an adult size. We have 2 books. We have a children's book and an adult book, I guess, a regular old book that you get like a novel. We have a baseball hat. We have an iPhone case. I guess just a phone case. We don't want to brand it. So it's a phone case. We have a balloon for balloon stands, a flag, which is very good for flag poles. If you want like an American flag or a, you know, state flag or something, you could definitely do that. If you want like an ACSE flag, you could do that as well. Then we have 2 magnets, so itty bitty things, which you could hypothetically, you know, pair together to make the ittiest bittiest signs that you want. So that's really good. Then we have a gift bag for, you know, just, you know, if you need to have something behind a register or something, that's very useful. We have the Christmas ornament, which you might be like, why did you include a Christmas ornament? This was a request from Just Goron, who's another content creator. We started making this pack roughly around Christmas time, and so it was right after Christmas that he was like, oh, you should make a Christmas ornament. It's really good. And I'm like, okay. But obviously now that it's like February, it doesn't really make sense. But if you're wondering, this could be used for like a Christmas tree. You use the festive Christmas trees in-game, make some custom ornaments. There you go. So come December, it'll be really good. Then we have the mug, which you can, you know, just have either on like a staff desk, or if you want, you know, to sell them in your gift shop, that's very good. And then we have some more shirts. So we have 2 sweatshirts. We have, you know, adult size and child size, and then we have 2 t-shirts. We have adult and child. Then we have the umbrella, which is very, very cool. And the last thing is, you might be like, this is just a box, right? So I'm calling this a toy box, and the intention is that you would be able to essentially use 6 custom textures to make things kind of like Funko Pops or action figures. If you want to make a box that's like animal toys or animal crackers or something, that is the intention of this specific piece. It's a totally blank slate, and it's an experiment because I want to see if people actually use this before I make different size cubes and stuff in the future. But I think it's a really cool idea. You can definitely check it out, and it's really cool. So, you know, I am going to have a tutorial that explains how you can use this tomorrow, but stay tuned for that. So if you want, download the Gift Shop Pack now and enjoy. So now we get to kind of the meat of the pack update, which was the exhibit prop pack. So this all started with these little bugs that I added to the animal pack, and that was just basically I wanted to add an arthropod update that added all of the insects in the game as well as a bunch of others from a mixture of sources, either from Animal Crossing or just custom made stuff. So here they all are. I think it's best if I literally just look them up and we can go in alphabetical order just so that I don't mess up any names. So starting off, we have the African giant millipede. So this is found in Africa, and it's a millipede. So this was a custom model that I did because it was a highly requested insect. I tried my best to get it the best I could within the game limit. It's obviously a very, you know, detailed thing, but, you know, hopefully you guys enjoy that one. Next up, we have an Agrias butterfly, so that is right here, and it looks pretty good, you know. It's very pretty. It's purple and blue, which is very, very nice. Then we have, from the base game, the Amazonian giant centipede, which is, again, very, very popular insect. It's very, very cool. Then this was another custom one that I made on live stream, which is, you know, again, gotta shout out my other Rhode Island reps. This is the American burying beetle, which is actually one of the only endangered insects in the world. They are only found here in Rhode Island. and they are very, very, you know, small in population. So you'll find them throughout zoos and stuff, especially here in New England, very, very common. So then we have the Atlas moth, which is, I believe, the world's biggest moth, which is very, very cool. Then we have the banana slug, which this was actually Leaf's very first mod. So my buddy Leaf Productions, this was his first mod. He's taken it off of Nexus now, but you can finally relive the banana slug days. He has remade it so that we can all enjoy it in the exhibit prop pack. Next up, we have the Brazilian salmon pink tarantula and the Brazilian wandering spider, both of which are from the base game. They are two different spider species, and they're tarantula species, so they're really, really cool. So I actually had someone asking me like if I would include cobwebs in the prop pack, and the reason I didn't is I was informed that the 4 insects that I have included in this pack are all non-web spinning spiders. So they all do not have webs, so that is the reason cobwebs are not in the exhibit prop pack. If I add more in the future, I will probably add cobwebs then. Next up, we have the common blue bottle butterfly, very, very pretty. We have the common butterfly from Animal Crossing. Then we have the Cyclamanus stag beetle right here. Right here, sorry. Then we have the diving beetle right here. Gotta zoom in on some of these smaller ones for you. We have the Emperor Butterfly, my favorite. It's a very pretty color. I really like it. We have the Emperor Scorpion, which was a custom scorpion I did. You have to zoom in a little bit, but like I actually added like some custom normal map details and stuff to the pincers because they look really, really cool that way. Another custom insect, we have the giant red-headed centipede, which looks really cool. We have the giant stag beetle. We have the giant tiger land snail right here from the base game. Very, very cool. Then we have the giant watering bug. We have the giraffe stag beetle, the Goliath beetle, the Goliath bird eater, big, big tarantula right there. Then we have the Emperor butterfly, or the great purple Emperor butterfly. The Hercules beetle, which is one of my favorites. It looks very, very cool. Then we have the honeybee, if you want to make a little honeycomb or something for like a beehive. Very common in zoos, so that's why I included that one. We have the Japanese moth, which the reason it's called the Japanese moth is because in Animal Crossing, they just label it as moth, and so we had to decide on what to call the name, because there isn't an official English name, it's just the scientific name, so we went with Japanese moth. Now we have the jewel beetle, very pretty coloring. Good old-fashioned ladybug, very, very cool little insect there. Then we have the leafcutter ant, which is another one that I made on stream, and it's finally done. You can see it right here. It's very, very tiny, but it actually is a flexi-color leaf. So if you want, you can change the color of the leaf or whatever. So you have a little bit of customization there, which is very, very cool. Then we have the Madagascar sunset moth, the Madagascar hissing cockroach, which is a personal favorite of mine. I really like these ones. Malaysian giant leaf insect from the base game, very, very cool. The Mexican red knee tarantula, awesome looking, I love the colors. Monarch butterfly, a classic, you gotta love monarchs, they are probably the most famous butterfly out there. The orchid mantis, which is pretty, it's just pretty, it's very cool, it's kind of derpy a little bit, but it's pretty. We have the paper kite butterfly, the peacock butterfly, the praying mantis, which is also, you know, a personal favorite of mine. The Queen Alexandra's birdwing butterfly, which is apparently the world's biggest, which is very cool. The Raja's Brooks birdwing, which is very close to the size of it in length, but it's a little bit smaller. The rhinoceros beetle, which is also very, very cool. The Rosalia batesi beetle, which I included exclusively because of its really pretty color. I really like the color in it, and that's really nice. The sacred scarab beetle, also known as the dung beetle. Gotta love this little guy. The tiger beetle, one of the smallest beetles in the pack. It looks very cool though, because I like the coloring. The tiger butterfly, awesome coloring right there. The titan beetle from the base game, a classic. Walking stick, you gotta love this one. And to round out the arthropods, we have the yellow butterfly. So that is all of the arthropods from that pack, and I hope you all enjoy them. I hope to see you making some, you know, cool insect houses using them, and using the next set, which is the exhibit prop pack. So I have updated the pack to include roughly 100 new props, I think about 80 something new props, which, as you can see, all boil down to one of a few different categories. So we'll start off with the big one, which is the glass. So if you want new glass primitive pieces and stuff, this is the pack for you, because you can make whatever kind of terrarium you want. You want to have a cylinder, you want to have an oval, you want to have some rectangle, square. If you want some bubbles, which you could double as not just terrariums, but if you wanted them for like prairie dog, like peepholes and stuff, very cool for that. And then I took the liberty, because some people requested it, if you want, I have included some planes. These are just glass planes that you can literally just combine together to make whatever shape you want. It's going to be a little fidgety to, like, you know, mess with the seam and stuff, but if you get it, it's essentially a total modular glass set right there. And because of that, you can actually mix and match some of these shapes. So for instance, these triangle pieces I have used as an example. You can combine them together to actually make some other geometric shapes like trapezoids or hexagons, stuff like that. So it's very, very versatile, and I hope you guys all make some really cool glass enclosures using these. So definitely check those out. And then with the glass being said, you also have all of the terrain types that match all of the different glass shapes. So for instance, to make these, you have squares, circles, ovals, and rectangles of both the desert, tropical, and wetland style. And if you were to make a terrarium, how do you do that? So first things first, you're gonna probably take the, you know, terrain base that you want, then you get the appropriate size tube or something, and this should just lay right like that. But you'd be like, but what do I put at the bottom? Well, I've designed it so that you're supposed to basically use the primitive pieces. You grab probably like a round piece of some kind of like this one. You can make it whatever color you want. I usually go with black, it's probably the prettiest. Just move it slightly out of the way and then slightly below the terrain so that you can still see the terrain. And then basically there you go. You can just now place it roughly around the entire thing, and then you get a full terrain thing, which is kind of cool. So just so that we can see it a little bit clearer, because that glass cylinder was a bit off, you just do that. And then there you go. Now you have a whole terrarium like that. So that is how you're supposed to use the pack. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to come up with some even crazier ways of doing it, but that was the full intention. So similarly, I just wanted to update this a little bit. Every update, or every single item in the exhibit prop pack got updated colliders. So every single one, you can select them all now anywhere, and anywhere that's appropriate, and they will properly display. So similarly, if you were to do like a line of surface, as you can see, they move along the branches and stuff, which is going to make placing insects and stuff on them a lot easier. Still not perfect, but a lot easier than you would have before. So rounding out the pack, we have the last few props, which you couldn't do an insect pack without making some itty bitty little, you know, props to go alongside. So I have finally added the bigger tree trunks that you get from both the tropical and the temperate exhibit boxes. So if you want to add those to your zoo, they are available. But these are all for the itty bitty insects. So we have basically smaller versions of the existing log set, so you can go all the way down to a really, really tiny size, so you can fit in even like little spiders and beetles and stuff inside some of these little, you know, holes and stuff, which is really cool, so they can have their own little things. And then similarly, we have little burrows for them. So if you wanted a burrow, you can have, you know, a little thing for your scorpions or for your insects, or even if you wanted to include these with some prairie dog habitats, you definitely could. And I've taken the liberty to make them flexi-color, so you can change them to any color you want. As an example, I pulled up this area over here where you can kind of color match them to different environments and just basically make different, you know, burrow types, which I wish the base game did, because that would actually be really, really cool. Similarly, as a little tip and trick I found, if you duplicate one of these, make one of them like kind of like a brownish color and then one of them green, it kind of looks like a mossy log. So that's just like a little tip and trick if you want to make like kind of like a mossy tunnel or something. That's kind of like a trick that I found that's kind of cool. So finally we have the new types of drin grass, which, you know, they're individual little pieces of drin grass that you can just place down in terrariums so that they fit even in the little smallest of boxes and stuff. So that's kind of nice if you want to just fill them out. Similarly, we have the new periwinkle leaves, which are very, very popular with the Europe pack, so you can now place those down. And then finally, last but not least, we have leaves of different sizes, and they are all flexicolor, so that you can, you know, decorate your little terrariums to your heart's desire, and they will always fit within every exhibit box. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I've gone over pretty much all 4 of the packs. Like I said, I will be including a tutorial on how to use the Giftshop Pack in more detail tomorrow. But with that being said, thank you all for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.